Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian back again with Ashley and Rob, and I'm actually in Applebee's this week. They let me in, so we're back ripping at full strength. So, folks,
he is sitting in a booth across the restaurant right now, calling into the show, which is funny. But I can literally see him over there on the other side of the bar. But I'm doing good. How about you, True Love?
I'm good. Just left family dinner. I'm ready for my second family dinner.
Oh, as a tick. Yeah, well, we got some shrimp poppers and some more $10 buckets on the way. So what do you guys want to talk about?
The boys.
Anything? Anything to talk about this week?
Well.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it was a hell of a way to come back from a 2-week break with...
Seriously.
What was going to be a well-deserved Austin Dillon win turned into a completely undeserved Austin Dillon win in a matter of one turn. So,
I think we're going to spend a lot of time on that, but I do want to shine a light on some of the positive stuff. I didn't watch the truck race, so I can't tell you that, but I thought the Cup race was fucking pretty good.
Did you watch the truck race, Ashley? I did, but...
I had it on, but I'll be honest, it's gotten to the point where that booth is so terrible that it just can't hold my attention. Like, it doesn't matter how good the racing is, the booth kills it for me. So.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair. The truck race was fine. It was a truck race. I can't remember. Oh, Christian Eckes, he won.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Ty Majeski won.
Ty Majeski. It's
Christian Majeski.
It's the same. Those two are interchangeable to me. I'm trying to remember the other storyline. It was Matt Crafton finally missed the playoffs, so good for him.
It was the last race of the regular season, and no one knew until the end of the race.
That's right. Yeah, I was really fucking surprised to hear that.
Zero promotion on social media anywhere.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Very strange.
Good job.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I didn't forget there was a Cup race happening. But it seemed pretty low profile on the internet that NASCAR was coming back from its big break.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't really feel like much of anything.
The Olympics were still...
They made up for it, but...
Yeah.
But you would almost forget that NASCAR was coming back this weekend. But I'm glad to hear the truck race was okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Like I said, the Cup race was good. I really enjoyed it. I like the option tire thing a lot. I know a lot of people are a little confused by it, but I don't know. I guess I've watched enough IndyCar and shit to be used to the colors, because red usually means soft. So
I don't know if it necessarily made as much of a difference as some people might have thought it would, but it was very clear that it helped Daniel Suarez. He was like one of the only one. Him and McDowell and maybe somebody else from front row were the only people to really take those things early, and it got Suarez the track position he needed, and towards the end, I mean, he was coming. He didn't really have a shot to win, but
for sure
he got back up into the top 10. I forget where he finished, obviously, with the restart, but
he was about sixth when they got to the green-white checker, which was really impressive. He had a good run all day too. I think a lot of teams played it really conservatively, and anytime there's something new, everyone kind of keeps it pretty close to the vest and to what their notebook already is. But Suarez doesn't give a fuck, so he definitely and he drove through the field like a few times, so that was really fucking impressive. He needed a good run, that's for sure.
Both Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin were like, this needs to be our tire, just a tire. Like, and Junior brought up a point on his show that this is Goodyear's. It's kind of like Goodyear's way of testing the tire in a race setting, because I have a feeling like I don't think it really made as much of a difference, especially once everybody's on the same strategy. Like, this race was the first one, and people were kind of feeling it out, but I have a feeling after a couple of these races they'll just go to the red tire all the time. But it was interesting. Like, I'm definitely not pissed they tried it, and it added a little extra something to the race, because the race was Robbie said it was fine. I mean, it was okay. It was they used to call. Oh shit.
Oh,
The action track.
you getting kicked out?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I I'm on a different headphone setup, so I hit a button and it did something weird. But they used to call it the action track, and we only had one goddamn caution.
I knew you were
which
going with
fucked
that.
the whole race up, of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were some pretty decent battles. Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin went at it a few times, and that was always pretty cool. And again, watching Suarez come to the field, and Larson got on a different strategy for a little bit, so he was kind of up in the mix. It was a good strategy race, you know. And again, like I know a lot of people don't like those, but I'm personally a fan of them. And I thought that tire added a nice little wrinkle to the option tire added a nice little wrinkle to things. So I got no complaints about it. And honestly, like this is shocking for me to say. I was low key pulling for Austin Dillon a little bit at the end of that. That beautiful Bass Pro Shops car.
You praising that god awful paint scheme is, I think, what got us into this mess. I'm blaming you, Rob.
I mean, listen, we're obviously going to get to the finish in a second, but, you know, begrudgingly or not, like, you have to give it to the 3 team. They had the car to beat, and they had the race won. Like, it would have been a clean win. He would have been well deserved, and
he was running through the field.
First respectable win ever.
Yeah. You know, I'll give him the Coke 600 too, because strategy does count, in my opinion. But yeah, like he's never really beaten the charges of having a win legitimately. And
yeah, somebody calculated the was it 5 or 6 wins he has? I think only 40% of those wins were clean.
Not too hard to calculate that.
Yeah. But yeah, then Recce Spinhouse decided to fuck everything up, and there's a nice conspiracy going that this was another way for him to pay back Childress, by taking away the clean win. I like to go with that theory, even though I don't think it's what actually happened, but I'll accept that theory as fact.
Yeah, it definitely was both of them. I'm going to lean a little bit in Ricky's direction as having the larger piece of the what Applebee's product can I compare this to? He had the most mozzarella sticks in the basket for that one, but Ryan Preece definitely didn't help matters there. They weren't even on the same fucking lap, which makes it even more ridiculous. But
yeah,
but yeah, that set up the finish of a lifetime.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is embarrassing, really. I mean, again, we all enjoy hard racing and hard finishes, and that's not what we saw. Like, we saw Austin just literally. He would have fucking if he didn't hit Joey, he would have totally missed the corner and put himself in the wall. And after taking out Joey, he went and took out Denny. And regardless what everybody wants to say about, Denny was going up the track and Austin was trying to avoid Joey. No,
we have the data, folks.
Yeah, there's data. There's video of him turning down. Like, he did it. He very clearly hit Denny just as deliberately as he hit Joey.
Yeah. I've maintained this a lot. You don't need fucking data to see that.
I know you don't, but it helps. It helps back up any other bullshit story. Like, now, motherfucker, if we have every little piece of onboard data, you did it. So
yeah.
And he's tried to, in every interview he's done, he hasn't denied that he did what he did. He's just kind of like, we needed to win, and that's how I did it. And Pop was happy. So I don't know, man. It sucked. Yeah,
I don't know. We're all. None of us know what to say. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Chula?
As soon as that happened, like, literally the first words that happened after that over the radio was, "Well, Pop's proud of you. I wanted to throw my TV through the fucking window."
Yeah.
Like, Pop might be proud of you, but no one else is.
My wife hates racing. Does not like it, particularly NASCAR. Just not a fan at all. And she came back from hanging out with a friend, and I had the race on upstairs, and I was sitting on the couch, and she didn't. It was almost over. She's like, "I'll sit down and watch this with you." And even she was like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, they can't do that. I was like, you're right, they can't. But the problem is they can, apparently. So, and
Well,
I think
I mean-
we'll elaborate on that in a little bit. But also, I think Austin Dillon's kind of throwing every excuse he can out there to see if it sticks, because he doesn't know if he's getting penalized or not yet.
Yeah, listening to him on Junior today, like, he was really trying to throw his spotter under the bus pretty hard, like putting the blame on him. And then he also was trying to deflect him hitting Denny, saying, well, if Denny had just cleared me, none of this would happen. It's like, no, motherfucker, if you hadn't wrecked Joey.
If you had cleared
none of
Logano
this
on the
would've
restart
happened.
like a professional stock car driver could have, then maybe we wouldn't have had any of this. Yeah.
That's another fact that was backed up. Austin has like the worst restart percentage in the entire series.
None
I guess
worse.
like he always fucking loses spots on restarts.
Even
So,
Corey LaJoy, who came in 34th place, by the way, he's better at restarts. So yeah, just
Yeah, so we'll say something nice about Corey for once.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I'll say this too about Corey. Like, we all clearly, none of us like Austin Dillon, none of us like Corey, but you could put Corey in either Denny or Joey's shoes, and I'd be on Corey's side. Like, that's how blatant this whole
well,
fucking
Corey
thing
has
is.
also been in these situations and not chosen that route. Like, he's gotten aggressive and done some shit before, but he's never been
I mean,
that
he's
egregious.
definitely wrecked the field in the front of Talladega a few times, but
Yeah.
nothing this horrendous.
No, it was really bad.
And we were all hoping that the penalty report would be out, and because it usually is out by now, but clearly NASCAR is really hemming and hawing and figuring out what to do here because, I mean, this really makes the whole sport look bad, which is what everybody's been saying. And
I mean, look, like, and I gotta say this, like, not to be, I'm not a RCR fan by any stretch of the imagination, but you gotta feel bad for the guys at the shop and the guys on the pit crew, and even for Austin a little bit, because like you said, they really did have finally they had a car that wasn't going to finish in 86th place.
Yeah, they were going to have a respectable win.
And it wasn't just like they were whooping everyone's asses. Like it was that's a big turnaround for them, you know. And I even
Suspicious.
really hoping they got those scissors away from Kyle Busch at the end of that, because never expected Austin Dillon to finally find the pace and get a win this year. And it just sucks that now this is going to be remembered as a dark spot and a clear display of, you know, how Austin likes to race and what. But here's the thing, though, like, and this is kind of where I get really upset. Like, yeah, it was a chicken shit move. Anyone who's watched any amount of racing can look at that and say, oh, that was complete bullshit. That should never happen, you know. But the fact that NASCAR didn't do anything immediately and hasn't, and are unable to, and they haven't done anything yet, like, and then the system that all these drivers are racing under right now actually encourages this sort of shit. So I don't even I don't blame Austin Dillon for doing it. I don't. Like, it's ridiculous that it's come to this point, and I wish that, you know, he really would have not done that. But do you fucking blame him?
I blame him.
I mean, I've said this. I said
That's
this to you guys.
millions of dollars to go from the last place in the standings, pretty much, into 16th.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, Johnny Morris made that in his hunting sale over the weekend. So
He did, yeah. He sold a lot of zip-off cargo pants. In the old back of the Bass Pro. God, what a beautiful machine that was. So pretty, yeah.
Well, I mean, I've said this to everybody that I've talked to about this. Like, the Joey move was one thing. Like, again, it was completely blatant, but I can understand that. But the right hooking Denny was just that's where it completely stepped over the line. And, you know, we've talked about how NASCAR, you know, they have penalized people for right hooking, and they've penalized people for rough driving this year. So
I don't know. I think they're both not equally egregious, but I think they're both shitty enough to DQ somebody for in the moment. Like, every fucking racing series in the United States, with the exception of NASCAR, whether it's the Cars Tour, who just did this, they just DQ'd somebody for doing this exact same thing. just happened. Or Stafford Speedway here in Connecticut, they'll do it all the time. Or if it's like Buttfuck Speedway in Sister Kiss, Mississippi, they'll do it too. Every other country. Weber Valley will do it.
Yeah. Well,
everyone does it. And the fact that NASCAR, being the pinnacle of U.S. motorsports, can't get it together enough to actually penalize somebody in the moment and just have to, well, we got to look at the data. I don't know. It's like, fuck you don't got to look at the data. We all saw what happened.
Yeah.
So again, I think Austin Dillon sucks, but I don't blame him, because what are they going to fucking do about it? And let's be honest, we've been inching towards this for years.
Well, now though is the time, because I mean they already fucked up by not penalizing him in the moment. Now it's like, what is the penalty going to be? Because he's going to get something. Like, he has to get some sort of penalty, whether it just be monetary, whether it be they take away his eligibility for the playoffs.
That would be that'd be the only thing that would make it right.
That'd be the only thing that would deter anyone else from doing it.
Who fucking cares about money? Points don't matter because you're locked in. It doesn't matter. Like, taking his eligibility away is the only thing they can do to send a message here. That's it.
Yeah. And I hope that's what happens, because he doesn't deserve to be in there. Like, he's 32nd fucking points.
Terrible.
Like, you know, and a couple of years ago, even this win wouldn't even put him in.
Yeah, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah.
You know, like you look at you know, people talk about Kyle Busch, you know, in that one season he won the title after missing half the season. Well, he had to win like 6 fucking races to get there. You know, like, he didn't win one, he had to win like a bunch, and he did it.
Yeah, well, there was the rule. There was you had to be, amazingly, was it 30th in points or above? Which I guess Austin Dillon was technically above that cut line, so it would have been a moot point anyway. But
well, he was after winning the race, but I mean, you know,
where was he before?
Before that, he was 32nd.
Oh,
yeah, he was
that terrible.
Yeah, Corey LaJoie's ahead of him in points. You know, like,
yeah, fuck.
That's how bad it is.
That's how bad it is. Speaking of which, Carson Hocevar getting a nice 7th place finish out of the deal.
Good for him.
Well, Corey finished 3 laps down.
Yeah. Did anything happen to Corey, or just him being himself?
I think it was just him being himself.
I think he just sucked.
Yeah.
He was battling.
We don't need to
hard.
Elaborate. That's all it needs to be said. It sucks.
Yeah.
And he might be going to the trucks next year, apparently.
Oh, where'd you hear that?
Yeah, that was
BBC,
also on
assuming.
BBC. Yeah, I actually listened to a lot of podcasts. I made the mistake of listening to the Teardown again, which is the worst fucking NASCAR podcast you could ever listen to.
We all did with. I'll put it out here. I think Jordan Bianchi he's got to be some sort of sex pest. He just has that.
Watch your drink around that motherfucker. Jesus.
And he just sucks. And Gluck's fine, but I cannot stand Jordan Bianchi.
I just don't know what happened.
Together, I don't know.
It didn't used to be that way. Like, before they were on Dirty Mo, it was actually a pretty, again, like, their personalities on microphone both kind of grate on me, but it wasn't what it is now, where they just kind of act like dicks to each other for an hour. And then, I'm right. No, you're right. I'm totally. Fuck you. Like, never listen to that shit again. But
I can't listen to DBC because the only person I like on that show is TJ Majors, and I can't stand the whole fucking cast. They're all awful. So.
I only watch whatever clips they put on Instagram, but I will say I thought Freddie Kraft had like one of the quotes of the week when they were talking about, you know, where's the line, and Freddie was like, you know, what can be worse than that? What are you going to do? Get out and shoot somebody? It's like...
Yeah. It's true, though. Yeah. So, I mean
Richard has supplies.
He does. Yeah, he can definitely... he could definitely start a small local civil war if he wanted to, and add to his little bear collection at the RCR Museum if he wanted to.
Yep.
Maybe put a nice Denny Hamlin in there. I don't know. Yeah, fucking ridiculous. I don't know, man. Again, this has been we've been edging towards this for years. We're finally here where something has to happen. And I mean, where else worse could it happen? Phoenix? Like, there's not many other pretty much worse places. This is pretty much it.
What Hamlin was saying is his biggest fear is, you know, if we let this slide, then Phoenix is a free-for-all. Oh,
and the reason why I brought up the teardown was Jordan Bianchi kept saying this shit, and to me, this is the stupidest fucking opinion I've heard on this whole thing, that if you start penalizing shit like this now, and you penalize contact, and I see where he's coming from, but he's wrong. If you start penalizing contact like this or at all, then you've opened this box to where it completely changes the fabric of what NASCAR racing is. And to that I say, sure, but if you really want to say that it's going to change forever, they did that when they brought this elimination playoff system in. That changed everything forever. NASCAR, as we knew it back then, is completely dead, and it's a completely different thing now. Or whether people like to admit it or not, we're here. It's already different. So NASCAR can do whatever they want, as far as I'm concerned. I would like to see them, as someone who's been watching for a long time and watches plenty of other racing where this shit's not allowed, I'd like to see them step up and at least try to maintain some of that spirit, because it's just going to get worse from here if they don't. Because, Denny's right. Everyone's right. Like, this is the way it's going to be from now on. I'll just wreck you if I can't pass you on talent, which is what Austin Dillon did.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject, we got to bring up the whole Dale comparisons, because everybody said, Dale would have done that. No, he wouldn't have, because maybe in the 80s, like,
maybe it was Jeff Bodine.
Yeah. Like, we watched the Richmond race last week, and he right hooked DW. Well, turns out he was fine for that, so even 30 fucking years ago.
NASCAR was very pissed at him, and he was put on probation and booed, so.
Yeah. And, we were all around for Dale's actual driving career. And for those who weren't, like, when Dale pulled moves like that, people were pissed. Like, people didn't like seeing him drive like that most of the time.
We've seen plenty of examples of that in his career where, and I'll be honest, we go back, we've talked about it on the show before, like, people didn't really like Dale Earnhardt a whole lot back in the day. Yeah, like, you were either a big fan of him or you really didn't like him at all. And
it wasn't until the last few years of his career when, he had some struggles and he had all those really awesome, amazing last few wins. And somebody went through his last 20-something wins, and all but like 2 or 3 of them were all clean. And even the ones that weren't, like
the dirty ones, weren't this level.
Like, say the 99, like, obviously we all saw the 95 one that Terry Labonte still won anyways, and the 99 one where he spun Terry in the last turn. Well, Terry had gotten to him a few times prior, so even then the context was totally fucking different, and he didn't right hook him. He got him out of the way, So, it's just it's I don't know, it sucks. And I'll just wait and see what happens tomorrow, and hopefully NASCAR actually does the right thing and really puts the hammer down, because like Rob said, and like everybody said, it's not going to get better if they don't. And nobody wants contact to stop. Nobody's asking for that, but don't be a fucking complete dipshit about it and take 2 people out in the same turn to win a race.
I'm not a very smart guy, I'll be honest, but if I can call an egregious penalty from my couch that the entire world agrees with, then NASCAR should be able to as well. I mean,
I've been watching for 30 years, and that is the most heinous move I've ever seen. Like, that, it was the most, like, blatantly, like, what? Yeah. What a fucking idiot.
I'd put it up there for sure.
Yeah.
I don't really agree with people blaming the playoffs. Like, yes, it did create this, but really what it comes down to is NASCAR expected people to have a moral compass and ethics, and most drivers do, but until Pop Special Boy showed up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Oh, and he did.
Yeah. Like,
straight from the hunting sale.
Yeah.
I don't see Christopher Bell taking out Ryan Blaney in turn 3 at Phoenix the way that Austin did. Like, there's not going to, because they're actually good drivers who can drive their equipment.
One thing that that Hamlin talked about a lot on his podcast was how tone deaf the entire team was afterwards, like celebrating like they just won the World Series.
Oh yeah.
They're posting dancing TikToks. They're losing their minds. Like, this is
Austin's posting videos of kids celebrating his win. Like, fuck off, man.
Shirtless
like,
children losing their mind. It was very bizarre.
Yeah.
And I not to defend him, but I'm sure there is a certain element of, the sort of forgotten 80% of this, that they actually did dig themselves out of a very serious hole performance-wise.
Oh yeah, no, again,
that felt good. That must have felt excellent,
did.
and to get the win, regardless of how you got it, like there's,
should have celebrated privately.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Get a private booth at the Cheesecake Factory to fucking do your TikToks in, but yeah, that rubbed me the wrong way too.
Austin also mentioned that he thinks Paul Swan might have broke his rib celebrating. So there's a
God
plus
works in
here.
mysterious ways, doesn't he?
We can't not talk about Joey Logano though. Also, which first off, again, none of us are huge Logano fans. We can all admit that. But his post-race interview.
But I was on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes, his post-race interview, chef's kiss, like just beautiful.
Yes. Start to finish, perfection.
Yes.
Chicken shit. Yeah.
Just amazing, and the whole line about he's always sucked. Like I love that. Unfortunately, he's also going to be facing some penalties tomorrow for doing a little burnout on pit road in front of people's kids and stuff. Which,
kids should never been on a hot pit road.
Seriously, what the fuck?
There's two ways to look at that. Like, obviously the kids and families shouldn't have been on pit road, but even if they weren't, even if it was just the crew, he probably still would get penalized because NASCAR does not fuck around.
You know what's fucking amazing?
Stuff like that.
For sure.
Amazing to me is the fact that everyone watching that knows that's a clear, cut and dry penalty for what he did on pit road. That's obvious. We know it's going to happen. We can almost guess what it's going to be. But when Austin Dillon decides to go killdozer on a fucking front stretch, we have no idea what that penalty is going to look like. How fucked is that? Yeah, I think Joey definitely deserves something. But again, Dave Moody actually said something on Twitter that I agreed with for once. He said that maybe NASCAR should also consider cleaning house with some of their pit road officials if they're going to allow children out into a hot pit road, and I agree with that as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, Whitney had to run that infant out to Austin
keep
so that he could
getting
use
his
it
ass
as
kicked.
a shield. Lord.
Yeah, I think Joey was about to be on his way out to the start-finish line.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Thank God Austin made best friends with a 8-foot-tall Paul Swan. Fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Well, I can't say I anticipate a whole lot of retaliation at Michigan this weekend just because I don't see Austin running anywhere near either Denny or
and
Joey.
Everyone else has enough ethical fucking fortitude to not right hook somebody at the fastest track.
NASCAR would put the hammer down on them.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Well, I mean, also those guys know how to spin other drivers without making it look as egregious as Austin did. So. There's also that. But I don't anticipate anything happening this weekend, but I guess we'll see. There is also, don't forget, Austin and Denny have their basketball game this week or whatever the fuck they're playing. So,
well, apparently his rib injury originated from playing basketball with Denny Hamlin, so I would imagine they've called a sub up to play that game. I don't know who it would be.
Well, Junior was like very adamant, like go to the game, talk it out, and
Yeah. Go get your ass.
That's all I can really do.
Tyler Reddick, who probably doesn't.
I've had enough of your name being mentioned with my father's this week. You need to go to that basketball game.
Exactly. I don't know if Tyler Reddick even plays basketball because he's such a small man. He's very short, but even he was pissed off. Did you guys see him take a shot at Dillon after the race? Yeah.
Bubba did. Tyler did.
I mean, like a physical shot on the racetrack.
Yeah, after the
I did see that. Yeah.
Tried to wreck him. It was great.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't forget, it is his boss. Like, he wrecked his fucking boss. So there's that.
And he had to suffer being his teammate for all those years too. So.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely some leftover animosity from the from being second fiddle, even though he was the one who won the race.
There's some secrets in that RCR closet.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Somewhere.
For sure.
Yeah, fuck him. Well, I guess we can move on in a second here, but our dart for the week does come from the internet fallout. Again, the internet pretty united on this. There are some people out there who are Austin Dillon fans, which is amazing to me. I think you even pointed it out on Twitter, Brian, that who are you if you're an Austin Dillon fan? But I forget. You found this, Brian, right?
It was the Instagram post that Austin made of the little kids celebrating the victory, and Yeah, a couple comments were left. Somebody left a comment, "Don't use the kids for this. You clearly wrecked 2 cars to win." And then Gmen2121, who is a massive Austin Dillon fan, I looked at his page and he was like, "If you got anything to say about Austin, fuck off." He goes, "Nope." He goes, his reply was, "Nope, didn't wreck anyone." I don't know what the fuck race this guy was watching, but he very clearly.
That's certainly a way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, if you're just the dart for the week is Austin Dillon fans. Let's just like it across the board. Yeah. So that's that, I guess. And yeah, unfortunately, we got no penalties to talk about. So moving on, what is this acknowledgement about Spotify AI?
All right, so we always talk about this in our little group chat. I just want to make it clear it's not us that comes up with this. If you're a Spotify user, you may notice that the episode is broken up into segments, which AI does. And AI is either it's our varying accents or our inability to speak clearly or something. I don't fucking know what it is. But,
all of the above.
But it just botches everything that we say. It really does. And the segment titles it pulls up is just unbelievable. So I do recommend you checking them out because they are really funny.
Oh, they're hilarious. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that we're not the ones typing that out. Yeah. I know how to spell Kyle Busch. There is a C in it.
Yeah, every week. It's for Dart for the week. It's something different. Sometimes it's Dart
of the week,
Dark of the week, Darth.
Yeah.
Sometimes just Dar.
Here, let me see if I can pull a couple up here. Also, if you're reading the text, that's pretty obviously AI pulled too. So apologies to any of our deaf fans, which we don't have any because we're a podcast.
And what was the other thing?
Because they could read this, but they wouldn't know what we were talking about.
What was the other thing you pulled up that was like hosted by Rob Moats and Jay Sauter and somebody else?
Oh, that was
Racing Jason and the one and only Jay Sauter. These are real people, but they're not on this podcast.
That was.
So why does Rob get to keep his name?
Well, that was that was me just typing my own name into AI to see what it would say, and I kept prompting it, and that's what it came up with. But friend of the program, Kyle Armstrong, he'll send me random things that he's typed into AI once in a while, and it's all actually incorrect. He actually typed in "who is Rob Moats," and that's what prompted me to look it up. And apparently I'm very well known in the late model community, and I've been featured on the Forward Bite podcast many times, so which is not true. I've never been on the show.
Well, just
love you, Kyle, but also Dart for the week this week, because I saw some of those comments, motherfucker. We saw.
My favorite AI title that's ever happened was the title was "A Man is Charged with Murder After He Allegedly Snuck into a House." And in that episode, we did not discuss the murder at all. So
my favorite one was when they spelled Eric Almirola, Eric with an E, but it was Eric Elmo Riolia, which was really good. But yeah, do yourself a favor, check out those on Spotify. And again, once again, that's not us. We didn't do that.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can edit them, but we're not going to.
I don't know if you can. Maybe you can. I don't know. Too lazy. Who gives a shit? But
yeah, I can do whatever they want.
Anyway, public service announcement. And we'll move on with the show here.
Yep. Well, I was going to say, speaking of streaming platforms, so everybody was all pissed off on Saturday because
that's right.
Cup qualifying and practice was on the NBC Sports streaming app as opposed to anywhere on actual television, which I'm willing to bet that
still happening.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet the Olympics caused that, but everybody was up in arms about that, and it's like, I don't know, man. If you really want to watch qualifying, I think maybe the bigger issue is they didn't necessarily, kind of like the race itself, they didn't necessarily advertise it that well that it was going over there. And, again, being that a large percentage of NASCAR fans are technically inept when it comes to this type of stuff. So that's probably why. But
here's a little tip for all of you out there who may not be technologically inclined. If something is on NBC Sports and you have cable, you can watch that. You can use your cable login. There's like a billion different providers you can use to log in. just use your account and you can watch whatever you want. I used to watch the races on the Fox Sports and NBC Sports apps back in the day because they had fewer commercials. That's probably
I've done that too.
That's probably changed now. I would assume it has. But if you have cable, that app is for you. I'll hear the criticism for when things get thrown to Peacock. And when you start adding in new streaming providers that not everyone might have, Amazon seems like a lot of people have that, so that's a different conversation. But I can understand if NBC is asking you to pay more to watch the shit from their network on their own app that isn't included with a cable package that's already like $100 a month or whatever. So I'll hear that feedback. But yeah, if you have NBC Sports, it's just the app. Use your cable login. You're not going to miss shit. It's actually better to do that. So little public service announcement.
It makes it easy to watch it on your phone if you're not home.
It does. And you can also share it with people.
Yeah, very
share
easily.
that login.
Super easy.
Yeah, so. And now that a lot of the streaming options we used to share have gone by the wayside, just keep that in mind if your buddy wants to watch a cup race or something that's on an app.
Just don't let him become an Austin Dillon fan.
Yeah, seriously. Friends don't let friends go to the hunting sale.
Yeah.
Not as much
Never shopping at Bass Pro again.
Not as much silly season news this week.
Eric Jones,
he just he announced he re-signed with Legacy Motorsports, which
bad, huh?
I think, I mean, I hope they kind of get their act. He does. I like Eric Jones. I hope they get their act together and find some more speed because he deserves to be in a better vehicle. But at least he's still going to be in the Cup Series, unlike Corey LaJoie. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, he might go to the 51 still. So we'll see. There was something else that came out. We talked about Connor Zilic last week, I think, right? Going to the 88.
Yeah.
Did we talk about Brandon Jones leaving Junior?
I think you might have mentioned it in passing.
Yeah, that's still maybe happening. So yeah, lots of moving parts in the Xfinity series right now. So that's going to be pretty wild within the next month or so. But yeah, that's pretty much it for silly season. I feel like we're forgetting something, but whatever.
I don't know.
We'll talk about it next week. How about that?
Yeah. Bristol announced they're going to be having a Major League Baseball game at the track.
That's cool.
The Reds versus who?
The Braves, buddy. The Atlanta Braves.
The team that matters. What?
I don't.
The South.
Listen. I'm a Texas Rangers fan. I'm not even much of a baseball fan.
What?
So
You don't even live near Texas. What are you doing?
Nolan Ryan was my favorite player as a kid, so that is why Texas Rangers have been my team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd
that
be
was
cool.
a neat little thing they did. They had Chase and Chastain and Chipper Jones and some little baseball paint schemes. So
yeah, very cool. I think anything that these places can do to keep the facilities open more and bring in more money is a good thing for them. So
I mean,
I'm
Bristol's
happy to see this.
They've done a bunch of football games and stuff there.
Yeah, they've done SEC shit before.
It's not outside the wheelhouse.
Speaking of racetracks, it sounds like Rockingham's coming back, which is pretty cool for the Trucks, Xfinity, and ARCA on Easter weekend next year. So that'll be fun.
They thought they weren't. Well, I guess Easter's Sunday, so they could do all that shit Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, Cup is off. It's like the one off weekend for Cup, and they managed to stick a Xfinity race on the Saturday. So, and there's only like 18 spotters in the garage, so they get no weekends off. But yeah, that'll be cool.
At least they'll be close to home at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've never been to Rockingham. It's definitely pretty cool that it's back. I got to say that. Of course, the official announcement hasn't been made yet, but it seems, they're talking about it in the media now, so it seems like that announcement's imminent.
It's been rumored all year, so might as well just get it out of the way once these schedules get announced. So that's cool. And
speaking of sports, and NASCAR coming together. Apparently Noah Gragson broke Zane Smith's TV while playing Wii. So
who still plays Wii? What year is this?
That's what I was wondering. They still make those?
I do, and it's fun as fuck. Getting drunk playing bowling, which I assume that's what it was. Okay. But yeah, always use the arm strap, folks.
Always use the strap.
You'll fling that thing off into the ether. Yeah. Sadly, Noah didn't, and he had to go to Costco and buy Zane a new TV. So all is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really much enjoyed that.
I think that's really it as far as the news and stuff is concerned. I'm trying to think what other series, like IndyCar was off, F1 was off. I don't think any NHRA news was happening, so it was still pretty quiet weekend other than NASCAR and Knoxville, which we'll get into in a second here.
Yeah, we'll talk about the real racing in a second here. Well, I guess we're there on the show, unless you guys got any more NASCAR notes.
Yeah, I got nothing
Can't
else.
think of anything. We've talked about Austin Dillon enough, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's climb into the septic tank here. Go ahead and close the door behind you, and we'll get situated here. Two of the biggest races of the year over the weekend. The North-South 100, of course, Lucas Oil Late Models at Florence. That was a killer show. Bobby Pierce, just, again, he's the best late model driver in the country right now. Apparently, I think I've said this on the show before, it seems like he's figured out how to dope his tires again because he's fucking unbeatable. Devin Moran definitely having something for him, and a lot of guys having something for him, but Bobby Pierce getting the big win there. Just absolute fucking menace out there. Bobby is on the run of his life and certainly has usurped the title of number one late model driver in the country from RTJ. Even outside of Ricky not being over at the 20 RT, his old car anymore. He's with Kohler now and has been doing a fine job. But yeah, Bobby Pierce is fucking.
Speaking of RTJ, though, I saw he's going to be running his first asphalt race next week or soon.
I did not see that.
That got announced. I said, look at me scooping Mr. Septic Tank over here. I forget. I saw that on Twitter today. Couldn't tell you where, but it got announced he's running an asphalt car somewhere. So a midget, an asphalt midget, something like that. So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, it's about time he gave it a shot. Ricky's one of those guys who can jump into anything and make it happen. So I don't want to see him get lost to the asphalt world, which seems like Corey Day and a lot of other dudes tend to be doing. We'll get to Corey in a second. But yeah, I'd love to see Ricky race anything. He's a badass as well. But of course, the biggest show of the weekend, the fucking granddaddy of them all, the Knoxville Nationals were last week. God, what a fucking event that is. We had a good friend of the program, Alex Hammett. Went to the Chili Bowl with him. He was crewing for Jacob Allen. I don't think he really.
I really loved living vicariously through.
Yeah, I mean, he just had the most storybook. What the fuck is happening to me? Who am I? Weekend of his life. Showed up knowing he was going to help out. Within the first hour, he's like changing shocks out on a sprint car, and he's like, "What the fuck?" I don't even know if he knows how to do it, but he did it, and apparently it held up pretty well. Jacob just about won that first prelim night. He came in second. Gio Scelzi just had a little bit too much for him. Pretty funny interview with Jacob afterwards. Of course, Jacob Allen's made fun of Gio Scelzi and the size of his nose. They don't get along. And then Jacob was big enough to admit that maybe he shouldn't have made fun of him because he just got his ass kicked by him. So, but Gio Scelzi was actually my pick to win the whole week, and then he almost got it done. Of course, Kyle Larson, the big winner of the 50-lap feature. That's 2 years in a row for him. He's led all 50 laps of 2 features in a row. Plus most of the laps he led on his prelim night. Just absolute fucking monster performance. Friday night at Hard Knocks night, of course, that's sort of the last chance qualifier night for everybody. Donnie Schatz and a lot of other big names ended up being in there. Donnie Schatz, of course, winning that, making the big show. So many big names missing this. It was pretty crazy. Parker Price Miller and just a bunch of other folks you'd expect to be in the main event just did not make it out. But Donnie Schatz actually, he caught the transfer. He's pure fucking luck. He missed the transfer spot in his heat race, but the second place car, there's only the top 3 cars transfer in to the A main for the night. Second place, what was his name? It's escaping my mind. Jack Dover, which is a really funny name, considering what happened. He just didn't go to the scales after the race was over. Just went straight back to his hauler, and if you don't weigh after the race, that's Knoxville rules, you're DQ'd, so he missed the show.
Maybe he knew he wasn't going to fucking make it.
Yeah, maybe Tony Stewart wrote him a check. I don't know. But yeah, Jack Dovered himself. Unfortunately missed it. But yeah, Kyle Larson putting on... before we get to the feature, I do want to give a shout out to McKenna Hassey. She had a really terrifying wreck on night 1. Punctured a lung, spent a few nights in the hospital. Yeah, she kind of got run up a little bit by Terry McCarl. It's kind of hard to tell. He just kind of slid into her side, and she went over his right rear and just flipped into the fence sideways. It was really ugly. and you could tell that it was a bad one. But she's okay, thank God, because that was a nasty accident. But she was out for the weekend in the hospital. Apparently, they were parked next to Jacob Allen and Alex and all them, and she was very nice. So, and everyone knows her to be a really nice person. So, really hate to hear that. It always happens to the good ones, it seems. And well, I'm glad to see McKenna's on the mend, and hopefully we see her back in a sprint car sooner than later. But the big show, of course, 50-lap feature on Saturday night, didn't happen as late as I was expecting. Everything got delayed by at least an hour at the beginning. They kept working on the track. There was a lot of big ruts down on the front stretch, and so they kind of worked that for a lot longer than anyone wanted to, which is definitely necessary. But I figured I'd be up till 2 a.m. watching this fucking feature. That tends to be how Knoxville goes. But Kyle Larson getting the big win, just led wire to wire, and man,
I'll admit that I had it on, but I fell asleep sometime after they came back from the break. Like I had a long day that day, so I passed out. But I mean, it was Larson domination for sure.
When did you pass out? How far did you get?
Like I said, after the break.
After the break, okay.
I just don't remember much after that.
Yeah, not sure what happened to Rico Abreu. He was another favorite, but he came in for the break and just never came back out, or if he did, it was only for a couple laps. He went straight to Dingus to get shit-faced. That's the word on the street, which I would have done too. During this pit stop, actually, real quick, shout out to the other Shark Racing car, Logan Schuhart and that team. He had a gear issue very, very early on in the race, and they were able to do a quick change in the only couple minutes they had to do it. They were rolling in, and even Johnny Gibson and the team themselves are like, we're done for the night. There's no way we get this done. But they still brought the bin out. They got underneath the tail tank, and they managed to get that gear change done. And I think Logan charged to 11th or 12th, something like that. Maybe 13th, but definitely all the way from the back. So hell of a run for them. Of course, it's $20,000 to come in last place in the A feature for the Knoxville Nationals. So every little bit helps, and he certainly earned a little bit of bonus money for the boys on the pit crew because that was fucking impressive. But during this break, Kyle Larson comes in. Of course, most teams, I think almost everybody changed at least one tire. I know Jacob Allen changed one. Some were changing two right rears. Paul Silva, who of course is Kyle Larson's car owner and crew chief, he walked out there notoriously cheap, which Kyle Larson even called out in his Victory Lane interview. He walks out, and this was on the broadcast. He licks his finger, rubs a little bit of the tire, like one little tread, and just kind of nods his head and sends Larson back out on the old tires. And he just drives away from him. It was absolutely fucking incredible. Again, a lot of talk last week about Kyle Larson and the 57 just being a bunch of rich guys going out there.
Trash pandas.
Yeah, but they're actually in the dumpster pulling shit out and using used tires and not changing tires at all and still finding speed. So that's a killer fucking combo right there. And Larson getting a lot of boos, which was interesting.
I was not there.
Being True Love was not there. She was booing in her sleep, though. We could hear it.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
But yeah, he had a funny little quip. He was like, yeah, I'm not used to hearing that. I guess he's never stood close enough to you, True Love. But yeah, just absolute monster run from Kyle Larson. Like I said, Gio Scelzi was my pick to win the whole thing. He came up short in second. He had a rocket ship second half of the race. Also, shout out to Corey Day. He was tearing it up too. He got to third place. That kid is super, super fast when he's not wrecking. So I've said it before on the show. We're going to see a lot more of Corey Day. But yeah, Knoxville Nationals. Again, Alex, our buddy, had the wildest time. By virtue of hanging with a team, of course, Bobby Allen owns the car and works with his son Jacob, and he's a legend. He's won the Nationals on his own. Just an absolute legend, and of course, you're in sprint car racing, everybody. So one thing led to another. All of a sudden, Alex is up in the NAS suite hanging out with fucking Steve Kinzer and Tyler Courtney and all these guys, and just a wild few days for him. I'm sure I'll ask if I can post a couple videos that he sent me, but there's one of him thumb gunning a beer, riding on the bar on the side of the car.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, good shit. But yeah, I'm stoked for Alex. It's always cool to see the dogs actually catch the car they're chasing, and this is one of those occasions. Definitely an unforgettable experience, and jealous is the wrong word to use because I'm happy for him. I'm not envious of it, but goddamn, I got to go to Knoxville next year. I guess I'll add that to the fucking list.
Well, whose car can we work on at the World 100? That's what we got to figure out.
I'll ask around. Yeah, I'm sure. Let's see here. Tyler Carpenter could probably use some help.
Just see whoever's starting last. Ask them.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find somebody that'll let us roll a tire cart around or get a ride on a golf cart or something. But yeah, yeah, that's coming up 3 weeks from now, World 100. I'm very excited. But for me, I got to be honest, I don't have a list of what's coming up this weekend. I kind of forgot to put that together. But I will say I'm going to be at Thompson Speedway tonight to watch the Whelen Modified Tour. I think the Thompson 150 is what it's called. Pretty decent entry list, about 27 cars, and we'll get to see Justin Bonsignor and Ron Silk continue their battle for the point lead. I think there's only 1 point separating the two. Yeah, it's funny when you have a regular points system, how good the racing can be. Who would have thought? But yeah, I'll be watching that tomorrow night, as well as the New England Super Modifieds and a few other series. Nice little Wednesday night treat for your boy. But that is it for the short track septic tank. You guys got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I got
I
nothing.
don't think so.
Yeah. Brian, you going to any short tracks around Michigan? I know sometimes there's some shows happening.
No, I mean,
Just Sunday.
Mike's coming in at like 3:30 on Saturday. So yeah, we're just doing Sunday. So
How about you, Trullo? Still staying in the AC?
No. Yep.
Saving it
know
up.
it.
Yeah, it's. You can only wring so many T-shirts out after a weekend out in the heat in the South. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, let's cool this place off. I'm going to go ahead and flush the septic tank down, and we'll move on to our video of the week.
So this week, I picked a video that is somewhat of a revisitation of the trauma that I experienced in 1994.
Oh boy.
And well, I might as well get into the whole. Yeah, let's get into the whole Ernie Irvan story. So, I mean, we've all talked about our kind of origins and as race fans and stuff like that. And I can't tell you exactly why Ernie was one of my guys as a kid. I remember the three drivers I liked as I was kind of venturing into the world of NASCAR were Ernie, Earnhardt, and Davey Allison. And, 93, I was really starting to get into things, and it was obviously such a tough year losing, Alan Kulwicki and Davey. And I can remember my mom telling me at the breakfast table about both of their deaths and stuff. And, 94 came around, and that was my first year where I was like fully tuned in, watching everything. And Ernie was my guy. He was having a killer season in 94. I got to go to my first race of the year. He was on the pole in New Hampshire. I got to meet him a couple days prior at Devil's Bowl Speedway in Vermont. So when all this stuff happened, it was just such a fucking sad, traumatic moment for me as still 10 years old when this happened. I remember specifically, the morning my mom, like I was with my dad, my parents are divorced. I was at my dad's house for the weekend, and my mom called and she's like, "Hey, I got to come over and talk to Brian," which is very unlike her, like just a weird situation. She's like,
yeah,
she knew it would upset me so much that she had to come over and tell me in person and like console me and stuff. And, I can remember the morning of the race, like going out, and my dad took me to Dick's Sporting Goods because I knew they had an Ernie Irvan shirt that I wanted, and he bought it for me. And, really just kind of watching the news over the coming weeks and looking to see if he'd even survived his wreck. And it was just incredibly tough. And that's one thing that I'll say that NASCAR fans of this modern generation, you really haven't had to experience a lot of the stuff that those of us older fans have, as far as drivers getting hurt and killed and things like that. And this was an incredibly tough moment for a little kid, and thankfully it doesn't seem like there will be any other kids that have to witness that with their favorite drivers. So
and less than 2 years after Davey passing away as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ernie got in that car. It was like, obviously it sucks losing Davey, but he got to go in the 28 car. Like, my favorite driver is driving my other favorite driver's car. Like, that was fucking awesome. And he got in the car and immediately started winning. And, he didn't have the title wrapped up, but it would have been either him or Earnhardt that year. Sure. One of those two were going to get the title. It's inarguable. And, if you want to, this is jumping ahead in the conversation. you look at what that team did with Dale Jarrett. Those probably would have been Ernie's title, and other wins and stuff like that. Had things not panned out the way they did, but
yeah, I think that's pretty widely accepted. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
For sure. But regardless of that fact, August 19th, 1994, Ernie had this practice crash, and late 95, this little documentary came out. I remember because I got it for Christmas, and surprise, nobody in the family wanted to watch that video on Christmas Day. So I had to wait till I got home to watch it. But yeah, this documentary called Miracles Happen came out, and it's narrated by Eli Gold, who legend, famous NASCAR announcer, legendary radio guy. He's done everything in the sport as far as media is concerned. And it's a very nice story of the road that got Ernie back in the car. And it starts off with just a nice brief recap of how Ernie got to this position. Started out racing short tracks in the 70s, made it to the Cup Series in the late 80s and early 90s. He got in the 4-car, won the 500, won a bunch of races, and then took Davy's ride. And he was on the run of his career in 94. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I know if you're a BMX rider like myself and Alex are, or skate or whatever, there's a little, you don't say one more. You don't say one more try. You don't say one more run. And that was the thing Ernie Irvan did that day, is I'm going to take one more lap. And that last lap in practice, he got a flat tire going full throttle into turn 1. And, the video itself, you kind of hear Larry McReynolds and Raymond Fox, or obviously we know Larry Mack's crew chief, Raymond Fox. I forget what his role at the time was, maybe tire changer or jackman or something, but another crew member. And Raymond Fox was the only one that saw it. And he said he knew it was going to be bad because he saw the wreck and all he could see Ernie's car were the roof numbers, which that's never a good sign when somebody goes into the wall and you see the roof numbers. So we next hear from Kim, Ernie's wife. Nobody would tell her what was going on. Nobody would tell her if Ernie was even alive until Mark Martin came over and found her and was like, hey, he's alive, he's in real bad shape, and took her to the hospital and all that stuff. And, they don't actually talk about the injury in this video. I don't know necessarily why they didn't talk about it, but he had a basilar skull fracture, which if you're not aware of that, that's like, where your skull and your spine meet up. And that's the injury that killed Earnhardt, killed Neil Bonnet, killed a lot of drivers.
Kenny Irwin, Adam Petty, Tony Roper. It's
what the Hans device was created to prevent, and thankfully, since that's been implemented in NASCAR, no one's died. So right there, while obviously it sucks losing Dale, that's what pushed the safety over the line to require that for all drivers, and since then nobody's lost their life.
Right.
But Ernie had a 10% chance of making it just through the night, which again, this is why my mom came over and had to talk to me about it, because she figured we all didn't necessarily think he was going to make it, but he did. And within a few weeks, he was out of the coma. He was talking again and out of the hospital. And Ernie's in the video, and this was filmed in 95, and he's got these glasses on. Like, one of the injuries, aside from the skull fracture and collapsed lungs, he also had really bad damage to his left eye, which he had to wear glasses for quite some time. And to at least get back in the car, he had to wear an eye patch, which there were a lot of jokes about. I know Sterling Marlin. I couldn't find the quote, but he and Sterling definitely had issues.
Couldn't understand
it. No, I just remember specifically, like, there was like a fight in the garage area, and Sterling like called him out over the eye patch thing and said he shouldn't be driving, something to that effect. But later on in the video, they kind of joke about it. Ernie talks about, he remembers playing Monopoly the night before with his family, and that's about all he remembers up until a couple weeks later, and he's watching the Richmond race, and he's talking to his wife, and his wife's trying to explain to him what happened to him and all that stuff. which is, fairly common when you have a gnarly head injury like he had, to lose memory like that. But in saying that, his recovery was fairly swift as far as just getting up and out of the hospital, for this type of injury. And, by the end of 94, he was wanting to get back in the car. And let me see here, I'm looking at my notes. He was determined. He was back home. He was back at the track before the end of the year. And it was the 94 season finale dinner, the ceremony in New York.
Yeah,
the banquet. He had a meeting with, Larry Mack and Robert Yates, and I believe his name is Dan Rivard, who was in charge of the Ford racing program. And, Ernie was determined to be back in the car by Daytona, but they kind of had to talk him out of it. And this is a line that this confused me as a child. Larry McReynolds talks about Dan Rivard really being the one to lay it all out for Ernie as to what steps he needed to take. And he mentioned him being methodical in his approach. Now, as a 12-year-old, I didn't understand what that word meant. I thought he meant mythological. And I just remember, I had that memory watching this video.
They come riding in on a unicorn.
Yeah. But later by the end of the year, they actually had Ernie in a car somewhere down in Florida at some Ford test facility, and apparently he did okay in it. So from there, they started to lay out what he would need to do to get back in the car. They had a test at Darlington in March of that year, where he took the Busch car out, and Mark Martin was there, and within a couple laps of getting back in the car, Ernie was running the same times that Mark was. But then, unfortunately, he did the one more lap thing, and then he spun the car out, which wasn't a bad wreck or anything, but, it was still a little bit nerve-wracking. But people still seemed to be okay with it. From there, he had to test at Road Atlanta, where he was just as fast as he was the year prior. But, again, spun the car out, which people still weren't that concerned about. Because I guess apparently the year prior at Sears Point, which it was a race he dominated, he had spun the car out a bunch in practice, and it's just shit happens. So they didn't necessarily see those as setbacks because he was still just as fast as he was prior to the wreck. So all good signs.
Yeah. Quick aside here, I know why we don't go to Road Atlanta with NASCAR because Atlanta Motor Speedway is right there. But if you're gonna take NASCAR to a road course, that place fucking rips. What a cool facility Road Atlanta is. It's beautiful. Anyway, continue. Yeah. Sorry. You don't see footage of Cup cars ripping around Road Atlanta very often because they only used it for testing. And I think there were some Busch races there in the 80s. But
I think so, yeah.
What a cool fucking place that is. So hopefully.
Speaking of Sears Point, though, I guess the original plan was to have him run the Sears Point truck race that spring. But apparently he had some sort of an aneurysm. Because of the wreck, and I think they had talked about it prior to needing surgery that he might need this to get back in the car, and he needed this. The doctors determined he had to have the surgery to get back in the car at all, but they did the surgery on a Friday, and he was at the track on Sunday. It was not nearly as invasive of a procedure as they predicted it to be, so didn't necessarily slow down his return that much, as they thought it would. Finally, in September of that year, they announced his legitimate return. He was going to be getting in the 28 truck, which he owned, and then the 88 car, because obviously they're not going to take Dale Jarrett out of the car. And the plan was for 96 to be a two-car team. So in this video, see some behind-the-scenes footage of those tests. You see Dale Jarrett and Ernie testing at North Wilkesboro, and Ernie, immediately had to get in front of Dale, and he's running just as fast as Dale, which was great to see. And, everybody was nervous, but at the same time excited to see him get back in the car. His first race back was set to be Martinsville, but unfortunately Martinsville got rained out. Ernie and the team, though, had a good perspective It wasn't going to rain for 40 days straight. There was a reason why, quote unquote, that he didn't race that weekend. So they just kind of took it in stride and went to North Wilkesboro. Wilkesboro, Ernie and the team felt he had something to prove, and they were nervous he was going to make the Cup race, but he ended up qualifying just fine, and he ended up on the outside pole for the truck race, which was great to see. Unfortunately, before we get to that, they show Ernie getting back on the track for his qualifying run, and you could just hear the crowd erupt, which was really, really cool to see. I mean, I know I was watching at that age, and I was, ecstatic to see him out there. There is a funny scene, though, after Ernie qualifies in the outside pole for the truck race. He goes over to Larry McReynolds, who on pit road is lighting up a "My Nerves Are Shot" cigar, which you definitely could not do these days. Then prior to the race, Ernie runs into Jeff Gordon and Ken Schrader, and Ernie utters this line to Jeff: "Did you hear what Schrader said about me? He said he saw me on Wheel of Fortune trying to buy an eye." So even at this point, they were still joking about his vision and stuff like that. But even with the eye patch, it didn't hamper his driving ability. He was running really well in the truck race. This is the first year of the truck series, and they didn't have live pit stops. They did a mid-race break, and I guess they were trying to fix the truck to get it running better, and couldn't fix it to where he needed to be, and they ended up just dropping out of the race. But as far as the Cup race was concerned, he ended up actually leading a portion of the race through pit stop cycles. I think they said the first 300 laps of that race were green, which is pretty weird. I don't remember. I know I watched it, but I just don't remember. 300 laps of green at Martinsville is not something that happens all that often.
Yeah.
But he did well and ended up finishing sixth in that race. And prior to the race, you see Mark Martin kind of telling him to take it easy. I mean, Mark and Ernie were very good friends. Mark ended up driving Ernie's car, his Busch car, in '94. He got out of his own 60 car, which is winning all the fucking time to help Ernie out.
Yeah.
That pretty much is the end of the video as far as what we see. I mean, they don't show any of the races that he ran after this. He ended up, I looked it up. He didn't qualify at Charlotte. I'm not sure if he just wasn't fast enough. Maybe it was rain again. He ended up finished. He had issues at Phoenix. He finished 40th, but then at Atlanta, the finale, he ended up finishing 7th. And in the truck series, the other two races he ran were Mesa Marin and also Phoenix, and he both got top 5s in both of those races. So it was pretty clear that Ernie, even throughout all what he went through, didn't really lose much as far as his driving ability is concerned.
No.
Now, moving on to the next few years of his career, obviously 96, he won 2 races, one of which was New Hampshire, which I was at, which let me tell you, it's hard to really put into words what that felt like watching that, because it still even chokes me up a little bit, because going through what I went through as a fan, and being able to be there and witness that it'll always be the best memory I'll ever have at a racetrack is getting to be there for that moment. And then in 97, he won at Michigan for his final Cup Series win, which obviously was emotional for every single person involved, or every Ernie fan. But then, unfortunately, 2 years later, literally 5 years to the day of his 94 wreck, he wrecked again at Michigan in his Busch car and had a concussion. Wasn't nearly as severe as the 94 one, but that ended his career. And that is why I wanted to choose this video, because now that Michigan is kind of my local track, like, even though it's cool to be so close and I enjoy the racing there, as an Ernie fan, it always still feels a little bit weird going back there, because this is a track that really ruined what was probably going to be a Hall of Fame career for Ernie. And I don't think he'll ever be a Hall of Fame driver now. I mean, say what you will about his stats and compared to other drivers, I don't think he was the most well-liked driver in the garage area, which is something I've only learned the past few years. He definitely had issues with Morgan McClure. There was a story that, I forget which one of the McClure owners told it on the Steam Vault, where to get out of his contract at Kodak, or at that 4-car, he ended up blowing 2 motors at Bristol on purpose. And he even told them that. He's like, if you're not going to let me out of my contract, I'll make you let me out of my contract. And he blew 2 motors on purpose. Jesus. And I have a feeling, and it's never really gotten out there, but I have a feeling that his end with Yates was kind of a Cole Trickle, Russ Wheeler situation where, Dale was really doing really well in that 88 car after Ernie came back. And even though Ernie had his success, he never quite made it back to where he was in 94. And, I don't know if that story will ever truly get out, but that's my hunch. Yeah. And it pretty much is the whole Ernie Irvan story. He'll always have this moment be the biggest moment of his career, and for better or for worse. So, I think I disagree with you on the Hall of Fame thing. I mean, 15 Cup wins out of how many years did he run? It wasn't that long, right? No, it was only. I mean, his first win was in 1990, and the last one was 97. So
I think between the amount of wins he got and this story, and he's also let me just pull it up here. I think he's in the top 100 greatest drivers.
He was in the top 50. He's 100% in the top 50.
I think his time will come eventually. He's going to get passed over for a little while, but I think Ernie's definitely earned his place in there, especially for how gritty his comeback was. I mean, that's the stuff that makes NASCAR special. Obviously the big numbers and championships and shit, yes. But Harry Gant didn't win a championship either, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So
and neither did Jeff Burton. So
yeah, so
I don't know.
I think he'll get his due, and if he doesn't, I think that's a disservice to him. But
yeah, I hope you're right. Did Jeff Burton make it in or no?
No, I don't.
I can't remember. Well, he was close though. He was on the ballot, so there's that.
Jeff Burton. Let's pull it up.
But yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think of this video?
It's cool. I've seen this one before. I don't know where I saw it, but I know I've watched this. And the story, I wasn't an Ernie Irvan fan at all, but I definitely was excited for him taking over for Davey because I was a Davey Allison guy as a little kid. And I was excited to see him kind of carry on the legacy of the 28 in the Yates team and do so well. And when the wreck happened, it was just like, holy fuck, are the people I'm pulling for just going to keep dying? Like, what the fuck is this? And again, like you alluded to earlier in the segment, that's just something that we all kind of accepted. And it was just kind of part of the deal. And you almost became a little bit desensitized to it, especially if it wasn't somebody that you really followed. But watching him come back and actually start to at least come close to his former stature was really fucking cool. And it's nice to be reminded of that. And again, there's a lot of footage that you probably haven't seen in here. All the testing stuff is really cool. And anytime I get to listen to Larry Mack talk, especially awkward young Larry Mack, it's
yes. So awkward. I was surprised by how hot his wife is in comparison to it's like a fitness instructor.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So Jeff Burton had 21 wins.
Oh.
So yeah.
I don't remember any of those.
Close in there. Not a single one. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was a fan of Ernie in his Kodak days because I was such a young kid and I was just drawn to that car.
Oh, that car was amazing. Beautiful car.
Yeah. And he had a fun nickname.
Yeah, Swervin' Irvan, that was the whole thing. And, it's definitely funny to think of that time and his aggressive driving style and then compare it to what we just saw and also some of the other drivers of the last handful of years. And, he wasn't even that aggressive, but that's just how things were in the 80s and 90s. So
they're going to have to bring Rusty Wallace in to give another speech.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm glad this is on YouTube. It's a good one. Yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I wasn't really a fan of Ernie's when he took over the 28 because I was such a huge... I've told this before on the show, but I was such a huge Davey fan that I didn't want to see anyone in that car. So... But I was a fan when all this happened, but I don't really remember it in great detail because I was a young kid, and I guess I wasn't, of course, invested in Ernie's career as much as Brian was. So it was nice to like be reminded of this whole period and to see so much, footage that I'd never seen before or don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of great footage in here. And there's some paint schemes in here that I don't remember seeing before, like that truck that he drove. I don't remember that Napa paint scheme.
No.
Oh yeah, well he only drove that for that year. I want to say the next couple years he ended up getting sponsored by Federated, so he drove a Federated. Like Boris said, drove that truck, so you've probably seen that scheme. It's the same scheme Schrader ran, like kind of like Hendrick. The Federated paint scheme kind of went from different drivers, but Ernie was like the first one to drive that. So
there's some great like clips in the end credits of like. There's more eye jokes of Ernie saying that he's going to make his crew start working on the car with an eye patch. And then there's some truck jokes because that was the first year of the truck series. So I think it's Bobby Labonte when Ernie says he's going to go get in the truck to go practice. I think it's Bobby that says, "Don't hit your head on the gun rack."
Yep, yeah, Bobby said that. Yep.
Yeah, and then DW says he needs to put a couple 50-pound sacks of grass seed in the back. So a lot of fun little behind-the-scenes clips.
Yeah. And another thing too, like Ernie is not the most charismatic driver either, and that's one of those things that looking back and it's like, what the hell did connect me to Ernie so much? Like when I think about that, like I it must have just been the Kodak thing and then taking over Davy's car on the fly.
Yeah, Swerve
Yeah,
and
that
Irvan.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I get to every time I go back to Michigan, I'll always revisit that trauma just a tiny bit, and I will never not be wearing Ernie gear at Michigan. So if you run into me on Sunday, I will be wearing my Ernie hat and shirt as I will always do. So
I can definitely relate to that because anytime I go to Talladega, I always try to wear Davy gear, and even though Talladega is like such a fun party track, there's always like this underlying tone of Davy there and what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way about Daytona also. I mean, I think until I moved down there and started going to races regularly, the last time I'd been there prior was a ride-along deal with the Richard Petty experience, like the year before he died. Always a little spooky going back to the track and thinking of that. But yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, also, anytime I think of Ernie Irvan now, I think of that guy telling you, Brian, about the time that he watched Ernie Irvan die.
Yeah, no, he's yeah, he's not dead, dude. 100% not dead.
Still not.
Yep, he's still not dead.
Very
still
much
alive.
alive. Yeah.
Yep. So that was the video of the week, and hope y'all enjoyed it. This week, though, definitely going in a totally different direction. We got a DM from one of our listeners, Lazy Stoner on Instagram. He sent this message: "Thought of my favorite podcast when I stumbled upon this gem." And the video is called NASCAR Racetracks 1992. Now, before I went and actually just briefly glanced at what this video entails, I was like, this is some, track preview for the season. Like, not so much. So what this video is, it is a special from WCNC TV, based out of Charlotte, local TV station. Being that they're in Charlotte, I'm sure their NASCAR coverage was much better than any other local TV station. Apparently what they did was, for a lot of segments on the show, they would create music videos of some of the footage. And this is a half-hour special featuring Benny Parsons and the sports director, Jim Solania, where they not rapping, but they watched some of these videos that they produced and talk about them.
It's like Beavis and Butthead.
I guess. So it's a half-hour special.
Benny
all the
and
commercials.
Butthead.
Yeah, Benny Butthead. It's a half-hour special with all the commercials and everything in it. So the only negative thing I'll say is I think the sound's kind of fucked up because it's only coming through on one speaker and anything I've watched it on, so that's annoying. But other than that, I think it'll be an interesting watch, and I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know what songs they chose, but I'm sure it'll be fun to dissect the music selection. So that is the video of the week. Thank you, Lazy Stoner.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a little fan submission.
Yeah, we always love it when the fans reach out. We really appreciate you guys. Truly.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I will be in Michigan this weekend, and I'm hoping the weather is better than it was last year. As of right now, it's a little bit iffy. I know myself and Mike from First Evidence Club, we're definitely hoping for a Saturday rainout leading to a Sunday doubleheader. Not that I want anybody going to the track Saturday to have to deal with that, but if it means we get to see 2 races on Sunday, I won't be mad. But we will be there. So if you are going, by all means, send me a message and we'll meet up and have a beer or something at the track. But what about you guys? Are you just going to be watching at home or what?
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to Thompson, and I think that's the last time I'm going to a racetrack until I go to Eldora. So, like I said, I don't know if there's any modified folks that listen to this, but I will be at Thompson tonight if you're listening to this on Wednesday morning, and if after that you missed it. So, but that'll be on Flow Racing, and I'll wave my little arms around from my little lawn chair in turn 4, and if you see me, just wave at me from home. How about you, True Love? Yeah, I know you're not going to the racetrack.
No, I'll just be at home watching, booing Austin Dillon. I think my buddy Eric from Canada that I go to a bunch of races with will be at Michigan, so
that makes sense. Michigan's pretty close to Canada, so
yeah,
you see a lot. They usually even do the Canadian national anthem there, so that makes total sense. But yeah, looks like that is this week's show. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at Meet Me at Applebee's and on Twitter at Meet Me at the Bees. I am Speedway Screens and all the things, and speedwaytsj.etsy.com is the store. Mima, tell them where to find you.
I did not come up with anything to say for this part.
Hell yeah.
Rob?
Oh, it's my turn. Yeah.
Yeah. You can follow me at Racing Jason at AOL.com.
Fuck yeah, you can. And I'm, whatever the other guy is, Rob Motes is not me anymore. But you can follow me on the internet, RobMotes_unofficial on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter or anything like that. My band is called These Wild Plains. And I meant to mention this last week, kind of a sad note to end the show on. I can't believe I forgot to mention this, but I lost a buddy, actually. I wasn't terribly close with her, but I know a lot of the dirt late model community certainly was. I hung out with Sarah at Eldora. Sarah Simmons passed away in an accident on the way home from the Prairie Dirt Classic. And yeah, she was really deeply tied into that community. She worked with the Race Rants folks. Her family's parts company was always there. They were fixtures. So R.I.P. Sober Sarah. We're gonna miss you. There is going to be a memorial for her at Eldora apparently on Saturday morning, which me and the boys will be there paying our respects. And if you want to donate to them, you can directly, or you can go to raceranch.com, and they've got T-shirts for sale over there. And they're pretty good looking, I'll say that. So I hate to be buying a T-shirt from them in these circumstances, but I know that her husband can use all the support that he can get. So please go over to Race Ranch or to the GoFundMe and give what you can. And just hug your friends, man, because you never know when the end could come. So, and with that said, I love you guys. I'm glad we get to do this every week. And I don't take it for granted, that's for sure. So.
Love you too, Rob.
Smooches.
Unless Brian keeps fucking putting stop motion videos on the show, then maybe I'll change my mind.
Take back smooches.
You're safe next week. I can't promise the future. So.
Yeah, who knows what the algorithm
will throw. So keep those
us.
Fan submissions coming so that Brian can't pick anymore.
Please. Holy shit.
All right, yeah, well, with that, looks like the check is here. So thank you for joining us again at Applebee's, and we'll talk to you all next week.